What's up, y'all? Welcome to a special quarantine edition of The Hub on LATV. Today we're taking it back to a couple of my favorite interviews, as well as featuring a new one with Darcy-Tell Morales of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. So to kick it off, here's comedian Fabrizio Copano. Friends and family, I hope my family's watching. Welcome back to The Hub. Today we have a very special guest, comedian extraordinaire Fabrizio Copano.
Hey, thank you. How are you guys?
We're doing so well.
We're doing well,
Clearly, you were an amazing comedian because within 0.5 seconds, you made the entire room burst into laughter.
Thank you. I love your shoes, by the
thank
way.
you. They're Swarovski crystals.
Whoa.
Those are real crystals?
Natasha.
Yes, I'm expensive, guys. She's expensive.
Wow, she is expensive.
But stop gassing me up. We're here to gas you up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, obviously, like I said, you're a comedian. How did you get started into the industry? Did you know that this is what you wanted to do when you were little baby Fabrizio?
Little baby, when I was a baby?
When you were 3.
I don't remember anything about that time, but I think when I was like 16, I started doing comedy in Chile. I'm from this country in South America, and we didn't have like a comedy scene. So with a friend of mine, we started the first show in the second floor of a tango club.
Oh my God.
And
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was insane because we were trying to be funny, and at the same time, the music was really loud. And this is really sad music.
People are tango, yeah.
It's very serious too. It's like, duh,
it's very emotional,
yeah.
very intense.
Hard.
Yeah, I started doing that, and then I did this TV show, movies. We try every format of comedy. And 3 years ago, I moved to LA. And now I'm trying over again, and now no one's stopping it.
And so you're doing an all Spanish show at the Improv, right?
We're doing one of the few Spanish shows in LA.
Okay.
With two friends, Jesus Trejo and Francisco Ramos. We created this show called Trifecta, and it's one of the few shows in Spanish in a place called Los Angeles.
I know. It's
insane.
crazy.
And it makes no sense. We're like 50% Latin, all like on top of that, and it's just a huge market, and no one's really feeling that.
And it's so beautiful because the people of the kitchen can enjoy the show. You know, they work there every day, and sometimes they can't understand the comics, but in this time it's a show for them. So, you know,
that's really cool.
So we put together this show, and now it's been a year, and we have like some sold out shows. Tom Segura did his first show in Spanish with us.
Tom, you're the best.
Oh wow! I actually just saw a podcast of him talking about that show.
Yeah, he was like, okay, I'm gonna try this thing in Spanish, I don't know, and then he killed. He was so funny. So it's been a great experience, and at the same time, we keep doing shows in English. That is also like another part of what I'm doing, and both of them are really fun, you know?
It must be powerful for you to be accessing both all these demographics and different audiences and speaking both languages. Your fan base keeps growing.
And also you're able to connect with people that you never expected to connect.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. You know, I think comedy right now is at its height, especially for like stand-up comedians with all of the specials. You've had a special on Netflix. But have you noticed that doing comedy in Spanish like invites more people in to kind of want to explore that like avenue of comedy as well? Because it's like we're all ingesting all of these specials. You want to know what's next.
Absolutely. And what happened, I think it's right now in Latin America, it's because it's kind of new. I mean, it's been like 10 years since we started, or like a little bit more. There's so much energy, you know, like comics have like a lot of, like they wanted to be there. So it's like the 70s here, you know, and like people wanted to be a comic, and there was like all this whole energy. So Latin America is a really like very interesting place to look. Like I recommend everyone to like check comics from down there. They're super funny, and especially like in Mexico, there's a few that I think they're like even better than American comics sometimes.
Wow.
So yeah, it's great to be part of both. You know, learn about both sides and make people laugh. That's my job.
Was your family accepting back then, or do you feel like you kind of changed that trend for people in, you know, your country to accept comedy as a career?
I think for my family it was more confusing than anything else. It was like, that's our job? Like, really?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Hub on LATV. I'm your host, Bruno, and who doesn't love Fabrizio? I mean, one of the funniest guys of all time. I cannot wait to see him get back on that stand-up stage. But until then, we have puppies. Check this out. Welcome back to the Hub on LATV. I'm Bruno.
And I'm Natasha, and today we're sitting down with Chad Atkins and Larissa Wall and the real life puppies.
Yes. Actual puppies.
Actual puppies on set. It's the best day ever. So we're here to talk about Tales of Joy and Paw Works premiering very, very soon.
Yes.
We're so excited to hear these stories. I know you're excited too. But first of all, how did you guys connect?
I'll let you fill this one.
Okay, so I work for a show called Home and Family on Hallmark Channel, and our big initiative is to empty the shelters across the country. And so every day we showcase at least 2 animals. Here, Tiger, too. 2 animals that need homes, whether they're here in LA or somewhere across the country. And I loved Paw Works. I used to follow them on Instagram all the time and see all the amazing animals and transformations that they did. And I reached out, and that's how Chad and I became friends. And he started coming on our show a lot and
You
bringing
actually
the
stalked
animals.
us a little bit in our store.
Some IG stuff.
You're right, I did.
No,
real life stalking. But yes, so when it came to doing a show, you know, kind of showing what really goes on behind the scenes, it's a no-brainer. Chad does so much work and his whole team.
And how did Paw Works start? I mean, was this a passion that you always had?
Yeah, for about 10 years I was doing doggy daycare and boarding service before I did this. And then one day I decided to go help a rescue, and I never turned back. And so I actually...
I mean, how could you when you get so much
I know,
love?
right? I ended up actually ending my career and starting a whole new one. And
I think what's cool is I have seen, especially on social media, this push for adopting and really making sure that people know that there are so many animals out there that need homes. But
100%.
But then you still have the people who are like, but I want my boutique dog. And I feel like shows like Tales of Joy will really put this into perspective.
Yes.
And there's no difference. This is a boutique dog.
well, one of the amazing things is that there's 25% purebreds in the shelter system. So people don't realize that. You can get your boutique dog. And these guys were actually born with us. Mama was pregnant with 10 of her puppies. So
so these
10
are
of
all
these
from
guys.
the same litter.
These are all from the same litter.
These puppies.
And they're just as good as any puppy you can get anywhere. They're way better.
They're better
And to your point, you know, a lot of people love their boutique schnoodle poodle oodles. You can find purebred rescues. There are rescue
100%.
groups that specialize in beagles, in bassets, in pitties, in chihuahuas,
In Labradors.
you know, Maltese, whatever you want, it's out there. It might take a little longer to find it because you know, it's not the same as walking into a pet store and saying, I want that one and walking out with it. It might take a few weeks to find that perfect match, but it is so worth it. And you're saving an animal.
You're not getting involved and searching and you know, it's
exactly.
too easy. You just walk into a store.
Yeah.
You really make a connection that way.
Yes.
It's
And
nice.
how did you find your passion for rescuing animals? Because you had been doing this before Tales of Joy.
Yes. So my mom was actually a huge rescuer. I mean, at the time we didn't know what she was, just a hoarder. Basically, we felt like any stray animal that came.
We had a farm, so
I mean, she was like, I'll take that one. I'll take. You know, I mean, obviously, if they needed us, she didn't go taking people's animals. But so I grew up kind of learning just the importance of taking in these babies that didn't have anywhere to go, and so that really grew my passion. And then when I actually lived in Central California, where Paw Works does all their transports, I really saw how bad it is.
Really?
It is
Why do you
horrendous.
think Central California? What is it?
You know, we don't have mandatory spay-neuter laws here in California, which, you know, we keep pushing for. And unfortunately, there's so many stray dogs out in Central California that they end up going into heat. And then we have puppies, and then they're on the streets. So it's just an ongoing effect.
And with you bringing the awareness to what actually happens, I think it'll open people up to hopefully adopting a lot more.
If I can say as well, their store, Paw Works, makes adopting fun. It's not, you know, a lot of people still get scared about going into a shelter sometimes. Go visit them. It's so nice. It's a little boutique. There's lots of things to look at and buy and play with, and you might just find your new best friend.
Which is amazing to have. So, you know, I get to deal with the back end side of the rescue parts, but I get to bring you guys all the joy in the world.
And then once the show is out, what do you guys hope people take away from it?
For me, I hope people realize that there's just even a little bit. You can do just a little bit, whether it's adopt, whether it's recycle, whatever your passion in life is, just follow it because it makes it that much better.
And I hope people take away the fact that rescuers put their heart and soul and every penny they have into this.
Yes.
So to have compassion for them as well as the animals, and to always adopt and don't shop. We need to stop motivating, breeders to keep going, because there's so many already that we are working to save.
Well, you guys, this has been so much fun, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. We're so excited for the show.
Yeah. When can they see it also?
February 17th, Hallmark Channel. American Rescue Dog Show airs the 16th and 17th, and then Tales of Joy follows that on Monday. So
and check out, and Paw Works, where can they go?
Pawworks.org, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere.
Yep.
Okay, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep it locked here for more. We've got more coming up on The Hub.
Welcome back to The Hub on LATV. Earlier this week, I caught up with Miss Darcy-Tell Morales of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Since museums are not open to the public at the moment, they have gone virtual, and she tells us all about it. Check it out. Today we have a very special guest, Ms. Darcy-Tell Morales of the Met. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to chat today.
Me too. Tell us about your role there and how you got started.
Sure. So I oversee family and teen programs at the Met, which is in the education department. We run programming for young people up until the ages of, we say 18, but if you're still getting some sort of high school equivalency degree, we usually work with you regardless. And so we oversee large-scale events for the museum, like festivals. We oversee programs that run for young people for several weeks. We do workshops, we do summer programs, we do internships for teens. So there's a wide variety of programs that we offer young people outside of school hours, which is super fun. It's great to see all the families and the young people come to the museum and enjoy everything that we have to offer.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people, when they think of museums, they think about, older folks going and kind of this hoity-toity atmosphere. But it's important, obviously, to get young kids involved, especially in minority communities that don't have the same access as people with money who, are the regulars or whatever you want to call them. How have you seen the importance in art education for Latinos play out? And how do you think that kind of can help them further themselves from a young age into their adulthood?
Sure. So what I love about art education is that it's so much about people's identity and who they are and what they relate to. And a lot of the art that we have at the museum, because it's an encyclopedic museum, it goes across cultures and times. It really tells a full story about civilization, people. And so what I love about our collection in particular, and it's the thing that I've sort of been thinking about as I've worked there for as long as I've worked there, is like, what are the works of art in our collection that represent Latinos, especially where I'm from, which is Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. And it's so fun to discover something new that I don't know about, but maybe other folks do, about my culture, about where my people come from. And so I've learned a lot about lots of cultures, not just Latino culture at the museum. And it's just from viewing art, from viewing the works of art that we have, learning about the artists that we have. And what I love about the Met's collection is that we're really thinking about where things live. And so there's a great Puerto Rican artist that's in our American art collection. And sometimes people think that that's strange, or they're like, why is it in a different area? And it's like, well, Puerto Rico's a part of America. So that's why it's there. And like, there's a section that there's Mexican art within the American art collection. I think people sometimes think that Latino art should be separated from American art in a lot of ways, but it's not. Like, it's all the same. So, or it's all connected. And so I like that the museum likes to make those connections for our visitors, and that we like to talk about the connections that you can make.
How do you think art has played a role in your life, and why were you inspired to give back to the community in the way that you do?
So I have an uncle who's a photographer. I didn't really know a lot about his photography growing up, but it was always sort of around. And my parents were really into education. They were like, you need to get educated. You need to go to college. I was like, okay. But I didn't know a lot about art, like artists and art as a career. That wasn't something that we were exposed to. I mean,
Right.
I grew up in the South Bronx. It was about 5 miles from the museum, and I never even walked into the museum as a young person. And so as I started to get older and I took really cool art classes, I had this portfolio, which helped me get into an art college after high school. I started to learn more about art careers. And so even though I was an illustration major in college, I realized that the thing that I was most passionate about was providing access and resources for young people to expand their world, to learn more about what's out there, to understand what sorts of careers are out there for them. And so I started working with young people in particular, young people who looked like me, young people who were from communities like I was from. And predominantly we were doing like college access work, but I realized that I was incorporating the arts into everything I was doing, because I realized that young people really connected with the art and really wanted to learn more about it, or were being inspired by it to create art, to create writing, or like you did math projects with art. And so as I started to go through my career, I realized that I really loved being able to connect young people with art careers. And so when I started working there, I was just fascinated by how much more I was learning, even as an adult, about art careers, we have amazing science departments at the Met, like conservation and scientific research. I didn't know that those were jobs that people did. I didn't know that there was this connection between art and science in that way. And so the work that I love to do is just always connecting young people with those opportunities to meet my colleagues, to be inspired by them, to then think about what they want to major in college in a different way, or maybe pursue as a career. I think that's sometimes the most important part of the work, is sort of expanding the way people think about art and careers and the jobs or the opportunities that they can have as a result of what they study and what they want to do.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that, about kind of the misconceptions people have going into it and how you're able to change their mind?
We run a high school internship program for young people twice a year. And I would say that the majority of the applicants are like, I want to be a curator because I'm an artist and I like making art. And we're like, wow, there's so much more in the museum than just curating. We have lawyers on staff. We have people in the registrar's office. We have, like I said, people in the science department that take a deep dive into what the art is made out of, and they research. It's just amazing. We have researchers on staff. We have a library staff. And so when we start to show our young people or our audiences all the different kinds of jobs you can have in a museum. I had one young person who was like, I want to be a director of a museum. And he laughed and he was like, actually, I really love education. I love connecting people and teaching them about the art. And so I want to do that more. And I was like, wow, like, a lot of people want to be director of a museum. That sounds amazing. And so suddenly this young person said, I want to be an educator. It just was incredible. And so I just, I've seen so many young people sort of walk through the door and they think very narrowly about like, I want to do this one thing. And then suddenly they're like, I do like science, or I didn't know science could be as creative as the arts. And so now I'm rethinking how I can do that. It's fun to be able to do that for them, to have them think a little bit more about their interests and change the ideas of what they thought they wanted to do.
Teens Take the Met. It's something that you put on regularly, but this is the first virtual one, I believe.
Correct. Yep.
So quickly, just tell us what it is, first of all, and kind of maybe what the differences are now that it's going digital.
Sure. So normally we do Teens Take the Met twice a year in the museum. It's an in-person event where we bring together over 40 community-based organizations to do programming within our galleries and our education space. As the museum moved to close, we were like, we have this on the schedule. Like, what are we going to do? We should still do something and celebrate like the work that our partners do. And so for May 29th, we are still moving ahead with our plans. We're bringing our Teens Take the Met virtually. It will live on social media. So our main platform is predominantly Instagram. most of our activities we will feed through our own Met Teens account. So our young people have their own Met account, which is pretty amazing. And so we were able to sort of host the schedule. We're able to host some of our community-based organizations that don't have their own social media accounts to do a range of things throughout the day. So you'll find like art making tutorials, which is we do art making within the galleries when we're together in the museum. So it's great to be able to translate that into an online platform. We'll have like dance tutorials, which it's something that we love to do in the museum. So it's great that we've had organizations think about how to do that virtually. We're still doing talks. So some of our organizations are still working with their young people, and they've created really amazing resources for other young people around COVID. And they're doing these like open discussions with them to talk about the impact of it on themselves and their communities. But the range of the organizations that we're working with is pretty incredible. I mean, we're still working with other museums. We're working with smaller community-based organizations. They're all based in New York. But it's amazing that the event can reach a broader audience that wouldn't be able to come in physically to the museum to experience it. So it will be an all-day event. We're running it from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Normally we would do 5 to 8, but we figured, let's just do all day.
We're at home. Why not?
Yeah. Let's put content out there all day. Let's make sure we're engaging with our audiences all day. So you'll find anywhere between 2 to 4 of our partners running activities throughout the day. And then we get to end the night with a dance party via Zoom, which is always super fun.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I learned so much myself, actually, that I didn't know. So May 29th is the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
11 to 8.
Eastern time, yes.
Eastern time. And they can find you on Instagram or where else?
Yep. You can find most of our information on our website, actually. But if you just want to find it on social media, you just go on @MetTeens with an S at the end. And you can see there's a link in the bio where you can register for the event. We are offering exclusive virtual content for people. So if people want to sign up beforehand, they can. Otherwise, our programming and Teen Safe the Met is all on our social media for now.
All right. Thank you very much, Darcy.
Thank you so much.